Hey guys, it's Medicosis Perfectionalis, where medicine makes perfect sense. Let's continue our physiology playlist. In previous videos, we talked about the nervous system of your gut, such as the enteric nervous system, parasympathetic fibers, and sympathetic fibers. Also, we talked about the GI hormones, such as gastrin, secretin, cholecystokinin, motilin, VIP, GIP, etc. Today, let's start in the mouth, mastication, which is the medical word for chewing, which is a lost art because most people do not chew properly. They swallow too fast. This is my physiology playlist. Please watch these videos in order. Do you remember these set of questions? What's the strongest skeletal muscle in the human body? And the answer is the masseter, one of the muscles of mastication. To answer a previous question, why do we get tired after a big meal? For many reasons. Number one, eating stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the land of resting. Next, eating food will tell your stomach to make acid. As you make acid this way, you will make a base this way, whether you like it or not. It's a law of nature. Now your stomach is acidic, but your blood is basic. Basic blood does not stimulate your respiratory center in the medulla, so you'll end up breathing slowly. That's another reason you're tired. Moreover, as you breathe slowly, you're getting less oxygen in, which is a third reason why you're tired. Next, as you eat, more blood is gonna end up in the stomach and the intestine. They will push the diaphragm upwards, which decreases lung volumes. You can also add another reason. As I digest, more blood is going to my gut, which means less blood is going to other organs. Let's review. How do I control GI motility and secretion? We have nervous control and hormonal control. Nervous is always fast. Hormonal takes time because we have to wait for the gland to dump those secretions into the bloodstream, and for the bloodstream to take those secretions to the heart, and to the heart to pump that blood, and then you wait until this blood reaches the target organ. Hormonal process is a very slow process. That's why salivation is only under nervous control. Purely nervous, no hormones. Because by the time the hormones reach your mouth, the food will not be in your mouth anymore. Next time you eat, pay attention to how long the food is staying in your mouth. You will find in most cases, it's less than a minute, which means no hormones are gonna reach you in 1 minute. Your gut has two main functions, mechanical and chemical. What do you mean by mechanical? I mean motility. What do you mean by chemical? I mean secretions, so that we can achieve digestion and therefore absorption. In your mouth, mechanical is called mastication and chemical is called salivation. This is the topic for today's video, and this is the topic for the next video. Mastication. Why? To break down food so that you increase the surface area available for the enzymes to act upon the food. That's why chewing is very important. Moreover, the more you chew, the easier it becomes for you to deglutitate or to swallow. And if this is not enough, mastication is especially important for eating fruits and vegetables, especially if you want to get the nutrients out of the cell wall, because your intestines do not have an enzyme, cellulase, which digests cellulose. So if you want to get the nutrients out, you need to chew that food properly and meticulously.
So you're saying that I can get 100% of the nutrients out of the cell wall?
I did not say that. Please remember this story of cellulose because it will be important later when we talk about the colon as well. Here is a review of your gut from head to toe. Your mouth has salivary glands. Then the esophagus. There is an upper esophageal sphincter, also known as the esophagopharyngeal sphincter, and there is a lower esophageal sphincter, also known as the gastroesophageal junction, or the esophagogastric sphincter. Then your lovely stomach, fundus, body, antrum pylorus. There is the pyloric sphincter right here. Then your intestine, duodenum, jejunum, ileum. After the ileum, there is the colon or the large intestine. We start cecum, which has the appendix, and then the right colon or ascending colon. Then you have the transverse colon, descending or left colon, sigmoid colon, because sigmoid looks like an S. Do you remember the sigmoid curve of hemoglobin in biochemistry? Yeah, hemoglobin had an S-shaped curve. He called the sigmoid. Oh, that's why he called the sigmoid as well. S shape. Your doofus professor never told you that, did he? After the sigmoid colon, you have the rectum and then the anal canal. Believe it or not, the sigmoid colon and the rectum can store a huge amount of stool. And you have two sets of anal sphincters. The internal is involuntary and the external is voluntary. Autonomic versus somatic, visceral versus somatic. Generally speaking, we divide glands into endocrine or exocrine. Exocrine glands do have ducts, but endocrine glands are ductless.
Where should I put my secretions?
If you're exocrine, put them in the duct, which will give it to a nearby organ. If you're endocrine, put them in the blood, which will take it to distant locations. Again, you have to send it to the heart first, and the heart will pump it somewhere else. Exocrine glands of your gut will secrete GI enzymes. Endocrine glands will secrete GI hormones. Motility and secretion, you end up with digestion and absorption. We talked about GI hormones in a previous video. We'll talk about the digestive enzymes in your saliva in the next video. But for now, please remember that salivary glands are exocrine glands. How many salivary glands do you have?
3.
Shut up.
3 pairs.
Also shut up. You have 3 pairs of major salivary glands, but that was not the question. The question was, how many salivary glands do you have? The answer is gazillion. You cannot even count them. Yes, you have 6 major salivary glands, 3 on each side, but you have tons of minor salivary glands in your lips, in your buccal mucosa, on your tongue, etc. Those minor salivary glands are important. Just ask any patient with Sjogren syndrome. So let's start here, upstairs. Food starts in your mouth. After your mouth, there is the oropharynx. Recall that the pharynx has 3 parts. Behind the nose is called nasopharynx. Behind the mouth is oropharynx. Behind the larynx is the laryngopharynx. So let's go. Food is in my mouth, then oropharynx, then the esophagus after passing through the upper esophageal sphincter. Then after the esophagus, you'll go to the stomach, as you know, after passing through the lower esophageal sphincter. Motility in my mouth is called mastication. Secretions in my mouth are called salivation. When it comes to mastication, we gotta say thank you to V3, which is the mandibular branch of the trigeminal nerve. The trigeminal nerve is cranial nerve number 5. Your mastication muscles are skeletal, voluntary muscles. When you masticate and chew your food, you expose it to digestive enzymes. You're also more likely to taste it. Here are the 3 parts of the pharynx. Pause and review. The esophagus is made of 3 parts. Upper part has skeletal muscles. Middle part is a mix of skeletal and smooth. The lower third is smooth muscles only. Once food reaches this point, it's beyond your control. You cannot stop swallowing here. It's over. You can induce vomiting later, but you cannot stop swallowing in its tract once it has reached the involuntary part. The muscles of mastication are 4 pairs of skeletal muscles. The masseter, the strongest, temporalis, medial pterygoid, and lateral pterygoid. All of them elevate the mandible except lateral pterygoid, which lowers the lower jaw. All of them will protrude your mandible forwards, except the temporalis, which will retract your mandible backwards. All of them are supplied by V3, which is the mandibular branch of the trigeminal nerve. The center of mastication is in your brainstem, particularly the pons. Please remember this because later we'll talk about swallowing. The center for swallowing is below it, in the medulla. What's the structural unit of the nervous system? The neuron. What's the functional unit? The reflex arc. Any reflex arc has stimulus receptor afferent going to the CNS. The center is in the CNS. Efferent is leaving the CNS until you reach the effector organ to elicit a response. The stimulus for mastication reflex is the presence of food in your mouth. Receptor, mechanical receptors in your mouth, and taste receptors. Afferent include the trigeminal. Also, don't forget facial and glossopharyngeal for the mouth, particularly the tongue. The center is in the pons. Efferent is V3 for sure. effector organs are the muscles of mastication, the response is chewing. When I take a bite of this apple, it's going to enter my mouth, causing reflex relaxation of muscles of mastication, and then mandible will drop because there is too much food. This drop of the mandible will start a stretch reflex, which will cause reflex contractions of muscles of mastication, which elevates the mandible upwards, and then the food hits my mouth stronger again, causing reflex relaxation, and then the mandible drops, stretch, and then you contract, and so on and so forth. If you like this video, it probably means you liked anatomy, which means you will love surgery. Check out my surgery high yields course on my website medicosisperfectionalis.com. For more physiology, I have a kidney physiology course also on my website, and a neuropharmacology course. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, hit the bell, and click on the join button. You can support me here or here. Go to my website to download my courses. Be safe, stay happy, study hard. This is Medicosis Perfectionalis, where medicine makes perfect sense.